Mary Shelley.
Mary Wollstonecraft. Shelley, born on August 30th, 1797 in London, England, is best known as the author of Frankenstein, one of the most iconic novels in the history of literature. Beyond her famous creation, Mary led a life that was marked by personal tragedy, intellectual exploration, and a deep engagement with the literary and philosophical movements of her time. Mary was born into an intellectually vibrant household. Her father, William Godwin, was a radical political philosopher, while her mother, Mary Wollstonecraft, was a pioneering advocate for women's rights and the author of A Vindication of the Rights of Woman. Tragically, her mother died shortly after childbirth, leaving Mary to be raised primarily by her father, who instilled in her a love of learning and literature. Mary's upbringing was steeped in intellectual debate and exposure to progressive ideas. Her father's literary circle included many prominent figures of the time, and as a young woman, she was encouraged to read extensively and engage with philosophical ideas, giving her a foundation that would later influence her writing. In 1814, at the age of 16, Mary met the poet Percy Bysshe Shelley, who was a devoted follower of her father's work. Despite the fact that Shelley was already married, the two embarked on a romantic relationship, much to the scandal of their social circle. They fled to Europe together, embarking on a tumultuous and often difficult journey across the continent, frequently beset by financial troubles, health issues, and social ostracism. However, their shared passion for literature, philosophy, and radical political ideas kept them together. It was during one of these sojourns abroad that Mary conceived of Frankenstein. In 1816, Mary and Percy stayed near Geneva with Lord Byron, where they engaged in conversations about science, life, and human nature. It was during this time, spurred by a challenge to write a ghost story, that Mary began to pen the tale that would eventually become Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus. The novel, first published anonymously in 1818, was a groundbreaking exploration of ambition, scientific discovery, and the ethical dilemmas posed by the quest for knowledge. Frankenstein tells the story of Victor Frankenstein, a scientist who creates life but is horrified by his monstrous creation. The novel is often considered the first work of science fiction, blending Gothic horror with emerging ideas about science, human nature, and the boundaries of what it means to create life. The themes of isolation, responsibility, and the consequences of unchecked ambition have made Frankenstein resonate with readers across generations, and it continues to be studied, adapted, and reimagined to this day. Mary's life, however, was far from an uninterrupted success. She suffered tremendous personal losses, including the deaths of 3 of her 4 children in infancy and the drowning of her husband Percy Shelley in 1822. These tragedies left Mary emotionally devastated, and she returned to England as a widow at the age of 24, forced to navigate a precarious financial situation and her responsibilities as a single mother. Despite these hardships, Mary remained intellectually active, editing her late husband's poems and continuing to write novels, short stories, essays, and travelogues. Her later works, while not as well known as Frankenstein, were deeply engaged with the social, political, and scientific issues of her time. In her later years, Mary Shelley focused on promoting the legacy of Percy Shelley and raising her surviving son, Percy Florence Shelley. Her literary output continued, though she struggled with health problems and remained haunted by the losses she had suffered. In 1831, she published a revised edition of Frankenstein, which included a new preface that provided more insight into the novel's origins and its themes. Mary Shelley died on February 1st, 1851, at the age of 53, likely from a brain tumour. Her literary contributions, particularly Frankenstein, have secured her place in literary history as a key figure in the Romantic movement and as the mother of modern science fiction. Mary Shelley's work is remarkable not only for its narrative innovation, but also for its intellectual depth. Frankenstein reflects many of the philosophical and ethical concerns of the Romantic era, particularly with regard to the limits of human knowledge, the relationship between creator and creation, and the dangers of unchecked ambition. Shelley's novel has been interpreted as a critique of the Enlightenment's emphasis on reason and progress, and it remains relevant today in discussions of bioethics, artificial intelligence, and scientific responsibility. Her role as a pioneering female author in a male-dominated literary world is also of great importance. Shelley's ability to combine the Gothic novel's conventions with the emerging genre of science fiction allowed her to explore complex themes such as isolation, identity, and the consequences of scientific progress, setting the stage for countless writers to follow.
Thank you for listening to English Audio Lounge. We hope you have enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more audio stories and video classes to improve your English.